Spiral throwers, by popular demand, I am making a video about ball prep for the Duke. The Duke is the official ball of the NFL. This one coming from a guy in my league, signed by some unknown player. Don't know. I don't expect that signature to last through the process, though, I'll tell you that. So a couple things off the hop about the Duke you may find interesting. Laces are very low profile. I personally like this style of lace, though I find it a little unfulfilling when you're holding the ball looking to throw. Mostly because I think once they get dirty, they're kind of an annoyance more than they're a help, which obviously not what you want from your laces. Other thing I don't love is the huge logo, but on the Duke that I did before, that I didn't make a video about, the logo actually dries out pretty well once you're through the process. You will also note that this ball, although brushed, seems to be different color panel to panel. I'm noticing this more and more on Wilson's balls. I don't know if this is a problem that's specific to Wilson, but just something to be aware of. It doesn't make a difference in the way the ball feels when the process is done, but since you guys are interested in color, I thought I'd share that a little bit. So first steps here, since we've already spent some time brushing this, let's honey it up. I'm gonna try and keep everything on camera here. As I mentioned in the last video, I have a absolutely mangled knee, tore my ACL, brutal, trying to make a cut. And my leg was far enough out in front of me that I not only heard my knee crack, but also saw it, which, as you can imagine, was a little less than pleasant. But I'm walking, this is the day after the injury was sustained, and I expect that once I have imaging and surgery, I will be right back at it. People get worried about injuries, I think, now, because as a general rule, society seems to have softened up quite a bit in terms of, well, if you get hurt, take it easy, bed rest this, and don't do anything. That's actually not the case for injury recovery. You know, I don't often talk about this on the channel, but I tore my ACL on my left knee, ACL, MCL, meniscus when I was 24. And, you know, at that time, had a lot of things to think about because that was my first real injury, and the outcome from the surgery and physiotherapy was, you know, not guaranteed. Obviously it never is. But, you know, one of the things you learn fairly quickly, both about yourself and about recovering from an injury, is that medicine is improved. So you need to listen when someone tells you from the medical profession, get on that injury, as in weight bear, as in put stress on it as quickly as possible. At the same time that I had my first ACL surgery, a friend of mine had a similar injury and was in his cast following the surgery for 2 weeks. I was in the cast following my surgery for 2 days, or 3 days maybe, and I was handed a pair of crutches when I went to get the cast off, and that was it. I recovered perfectly. That knee has never given me any problems since. I did have a meniscus trim back when I was 30, so about 8 years ago. But those are just wear and tear injuries. There hasn't been another catastrophic structural injury to that knee since that injury occurred the first time. I also tore my Achilles tendon in that leg maybe 3 years ago. And obviously at that time I was a little older, I was 34. And you know, a lot of considerations on my part at that time as well, like how much more do you want to do here? You want to keep playing, you're still playing at a high level. You know, can you return to form after that injury? That's an injury a lot of people say is like that's the widowmaker of sports injuries. You know, you have that injury, you never come back. Also not true. Just like the ACL injury, it was about 5 months and I didn't even get the surgery. I was one of these conservative approach patients at the hospital here in Hamilton with Dr. Denkers, who I think actually played football for McMaster. So a little tidbit of information for you there. And what they do is they cast you up for 2 weeks, let the tendon start to heal, and then they put you in a boot for another 8 weeks. And while you're in that boot, you are walking every day. I tell this story a lot. When you go to get your cast off after you tear your Achilles, you are wheeled into the hospital in a wheelchair, and they send you out with crutches. There is no no extra support on the way back to your car. So getting on that injury early makes a big difference. And it was only 5 months from the time I tore it to the time I started playing again. Like everything, guys, you know, take it seriously, stay healthy, eat well, and you'll be fine. ACL injuries are kind of a bummer because you can't really walk that well for a couple of days, which sucks, but I'm standing up right now. I got a you know, McDavid brace on it. Nothing serious. It's not one of those DonJoy locking ones, though. I will need to get another one for the rehab following whatever operation I have. So, okay, here we go. Way darker. As you guys know, leather honey, the best when it comes to moisturizing a ball. We're gonna let this sit overnight and we'll come back and get to mudding. Okay, we are back. This has been sitting for longer than 24 hours. I've been busy. Had a busy day at work today. ACL is feeling good for those who are wondering. Brace is off. Just some ace bandage now. I'm gonna tape these laces before I mud this because I find these laces are hard to clean afterwards. People seem to like them because they're very minimal, but it makes them difficult to clean. So I have some painter's tape here. My wife and I are doing a reno, so I unfortunately don't have the 1-inch stuff that I usually keep around. Perfect measure the first time, of course. I don't know if you guys can hear in the background there, but I have Fantasy Pros mock drafts on. You guys play fantasy football? I mean, fantasy football is great. Maybe I'll start a league for the for the channel. I already have a league for the Bitcoin channel, and then I have my home league as well. So, you know, what's a third league? No big deal, that's what I say. So I have about an inch, just probably 1.25 inches-ish. And I'm just gonna stick it right over top, like so. Doesn't have to be super precise, but you don't wanna cover up too much of the leather just because it'll make for an awkward color. And as much as I tell people not to worry about color as far as the quality of the finish, it is nice when you can get at least a nice lace imprint at the end of your break-in. So we'll do that. I do not like the way that's sitting. I don't know if that's gonna hold up, but we'll see. Okay, so just like that, and then I'll make the mud here with you guys. So I've already done the hard part. Grated up a bunch of dirt, piece of cake, right? Again, from my backyard. I'm gonna put in a little bit of water from a Moscow Mule cup that my wife doesn't know that I'm using. All right, mix her up there. Yeah, like I said before, it doesn't have to be too muddy. You want it to be kind of thick, in fact. Not quite this thick, we're gonna have to add a little more water. But then you're gonna add, we're gonna use Lexol for this break-in, since a lot of you guys are saying you have trouble finding the leather milk, and it is quite expensive. So we're gonna keep using the Lexol. Actually, this turned out pretty good. I may not add more water than that. That's pretty smooth. Oh yeah, maybe just a touch more, not much though. Just a hair more. Okay. That might have been too much, we'll see. Okay. So that's about the consistency you want. I know it might be hard to see, but I'm gonna add a bit more dirt to that, just because I want to be safe and not wind up with way too much. You guys see that? Yeah, with way too much water in the mix. So just a little bit, like usual. Shake it out. Put a little more in there. I've already done most of the crush work on that cup of dirt, so I actually use the Wilson conditioner bottle to do it. That bottle is good for something after all. So do that, give her a good shake there. All right, that's a little better. I think we can live with that. So we're just gonna mix that up again. Oh yeah. Little stuff like this makes all the difference, you know, having patience when you're doing this and going back and forth on the mixture so that you're not putting something on the ball you're not confident is going to make the ball better. At the end of the day, what do you want? You want the ball to be better after all. So stash this over there. So I got something like that. I have my trusty Lexol Dos, and I'll throw a little bit in there, like that maybe. That's a little more than I'd usually use, but in my experience, the red leather takes the conditioner quite well. So we'll use that. Mix it up real nice here. Okay, we're ready. I'm gonna wipe my hands off so I don't get the inside of my latex gloves dirty. I think this year in fantasy drafts, they got Jamar Chase going #1 in half and full PPR. Don't know how much I like that. Burrow, you know, he's had a lot of good years, but also been hurt a bunch. Now you could say some of those injuries are kind of fluky. I know better than most. Like, you know, I'm trying to think about just the injury I just had on the weekend. A cut I should not have made. I knew was a bit reckless in the moment and tried to make it anyway. So it's weird being a receiver in fantasy. There's so much that you have to think about because good teams spend a lot of time running the ball because they're winning. Cincinnati also plays outside in a colder climate, which affects usage for receivers in the latter months, aka the fantasy playoffs. So don't want that. Anyway, this is not a fantasy channel, but it could be. Could be. Maybe I'll start a league. We'll see if you guys want to do that. I'm happy to run it. Yahoo only, of course. I'm not a sleeper guy. Okay, so there's your mud, paint-ish thickness, right? Like that. And as usual, we're gonna just take a bit and rub it on. So I'll put it on the towel here just to be safe. The Duke has obviously this logo, nice big logo on it. I just mud over it. I don't care, and I want an even finish. So I think it's more important to make sure that you get everywhere around that logo, and to do that, you have to get the logo as well. I will add that the logo cleans up so well on these balls and is so tough that you don't have to worry about lasting damage on the ball. So don't forget the seams. You can see that mud's not that dark, okay? That mud is, you know, I tell you, if you saw this color in the toilet in the morning, you might have a second thought, but you wouldn't be calling a doctor, okay? It's nothing to worry about. I would say that the darkness on the ball is a secondary effect of the leather being treated in a certain way. And you can see that in just how dark the leather is following the leather honey step, right? So keep that in mind as well. Don't worry too much about the darkness of the mud. There's so much more that goes into the color of the ball than just the darkness of the mud. All right, so we're just, as always, getting a good rub in here, making sure that we're rubbing in circles. I like to rub in circles because it helps get every little bit of leather in the dimples, stops issues with different feel panel to panel, and you will find that, you know, you might think you have a lot of mud, but when you're done, you've actually used quite a bit because you've been doing this and the ball is soaking in a lot of that leather, maybe more than you originally thought. So always good. Rub in circles, and I'm gonna take a second pass on the ball as well, so we get in here as close to the laces as we can. I like to stay away from that valve if I can, because you'll find when you break in a ball, you hear a little rattle. It's because a little bit of dry mud made its way into the bladder. I have a problem, that problem with a couple of the balls that I use myself. I thought for sure it would cause an issue with air retention or damage the bladder, but I was overthinking it. You gotta figure a lot of teams do this and don't have that concern, so I don't really worry about it too much anymore. But if that's something that bothers you, just be aware, just be aware. Okay, so let's try and get around this as best we can without getting too much mud on it. Okay, so you can see that even after one pass, there's still a little bit of red showing on that, and we have quite a bit of mud left. So let's not be stingy, right? Let's use it. A good circular motion. Yeah, that's good. A little more there. And I'm using a towel instead of the stand. It's a little easier to control, I find. So to each their own, but I personally think the control is so much more convenient doing this process than worrying about, oh, like the nub of the ball is not getting enough mud. It'll get mud. You'll be fine. Don't worry about it too much. Don't worry about it too much, you guys. So going around the logo again, make sure we get everything here. Try and keep the camera, keep the ball in view of the camera, I should say. So you're feeling pretty good about this now. Try and get as much in the seams as you can. So now you see there's significantly better coverage, right? So there's a little gap there. We can fix that. Easy. Easy, man. Easy. Get it on there. All right. Find some spots you think you missed, or you're a little light on. So I don't see many there. Maybe a little one right there. Yeah, I think that's pretty good. So we'll just maybe get right by the laces here. Now to me, this looks like a good finish here. So we got every panel, pretty good coverage. Don't forget, we're gonna use mink oil at the end of this process too, which will darken the ball even more. So don't worry too much about the interim. Let's leave this 24 hours. We'll come back and brush. Okay, friends, we are back. We've brushed the mud off of this ball. And so you see here what I said in an earlier video about some of the mud being left over. So it's very soft, but there is still some leftover, I don't know what you call this, dirt, I guess, mud dust, something. So to get rid of this, it's pretty simple. You're just gonna take a microfiber cloth. I'm gonna try and do my best to keep my hands and arms out of the shot for once on this channel, eh? Try and do that. And you're gonna put a little leather conditioner on it. I like to use Lexol. I'm actually gonna go get a cleaner rag than that because I want this to not pick up any extra dirt. This one's a little better, so I'll use this. So you can put a little Lexol too on that rag and just wipe some of the quote-unquote trouble spots. Be generous with the Lexol, okay? I'll try and show you here. I think this is on the camera. Bless me. Just something like that. You don't want to have it too thick in the rag when you go to the ball, right? It should be soaked in-ish. And then just wipe over any problem areas. You're not going to take off color from the ball. You might a little bit, but generally you'll be fine. And this also helps to condition the ball before we move to the wax and mink oil step. So you're getting a little bit of dirt there, you can see, I hope. I'll try and move this out of the way. And we're just wiping. Same spot on the rag, not adding any more Lexol, but you can if you want. Nothing wrong with adding more Lexol if you want to. Not gonna hurt the ball. And this will retain a lot of the color regardless because we're gonna use the mink oil during the last step. And you know, the one thing I might recommend is when you're doing this, maybe for the logo side, you know what I'll do? I'll change sides on the rag just so that you get a nice clean swipe on that big gold shield, because you do want that to look nice, I think, right? Again, I don't break in for color on this channel. I recommend you guys do the same, but to each their own. I'm not your mother, figuratively or literally, so you guys do what you like in terms of break-in here. But yeah, so you just wipe that off a bit. You can go both sides if you want. Try and get as much as you can. A little bit of dirt on the ball is not going to hurt it anyway. It'll come off during the first play with the ball, so I wouldn't worry too much about it. And yeah, so you got, after that, really nice finish, right? Nice sheen. And you haven't lost any color, right? The mud does the work for you in terms of color. And then it's up to you to make it soft as you can. So I'm gonna take one more pass over this just to try and get as much of that stuff off as possible. These rags obviously have two sides, one that's a little more linty, I guess, than the other. I'm not sure which one I like better, but just for the sake of trying both out, we'll use the other side for the second pass. Same thing, nothing to it. Just some brushing. These red leather balls actually break in to be a really nice, like dark purple. An F2000 that I did last week for a fella, which is still here. He's coming to get it on Friday, but maybe I'll pull it out and show you guys the expectation I have for the color of these balls to finish. They break in not quite as dark as the brown leather Wilsons, but in my opinion, the color's nicer. I like the purple quite a bit. So it's like a really dark midnight purple, you know? So there's the finished, wiped NFL Duke. And then the ball that I did, I'm just gonna dry my hands here since I didn't have gloves on. The ball that I did last week that is getting picked up this week, I expect it'll finish to be about the same color. So pretty dark, not quite black, but like a dark purple. Yeah, so let's wait for that to dry, and then I'll walk you through the mink oil wax, etc., etc. Stay tuned for that. Okay, so we have done our brushing following our conditioning. Oops, just jarred the camera there. Fix that up. Actually, we're gonna turn this up a bit so you can see the ball. Now the next step is the Tack Bar, and we're gonna use a horsehair brush to brush the Tack Bar. And we do this for a couple reasons. One, because I think it gives a more even finish on the ball. So just leave a couple marks there. You'll notice you might get the Tack Bar a little dirty because there's still a little dirt on there and the mud is leaving a certain color. I wouldn't worry about that. This one's actually not too bad. So you got a little mud or a little tack on there now. Rub it in a bit. Okay. Just like that. You'll start to get a bit of that shine everyone's after. Okay, so you can start to see it there. Just do it panel by panel. I'm gonna fold this up just so we can get a cleaner part of the towel to lay this down on. Brush it in even. I left the tape on there. You don't have to if you don't want to. The dirty part is done now. Nice, that looks good. I'll just go panel by panel. No. Yeah, you want to learn a bit about wax application? Want to learn a bit about wax application? Okay. Me talking to you will be, but your voice will not be. No, she didn't move at all. She's quiet like a church mouse. Same with this guy. I didn't even see this guy till just now. He didn't even come downstairs. He's exhausted. nice. Oh, good idea. That's good. Hopefully we don't break it. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, good. Free money. Pass me that other Tack Bar there. Probably not. I'll just talk over it. Maybe make my own audios for the second one. Starting to get a real nice sticky feel there. So let's do one more quick coat here. Okay, so now that you've done this, what you want to do is add mink oil, okay? That's the stuff I have. You're just gonna dab on the tiniest amount, tiniest amount, okay? So there's actually hair in here from the last time I used this brush. Like this, okay? Barely any at all. And just brush it in. This will help finish the wax too. I'm gonna get rid of this and just use the table. Gives it a nice shine, will prolong the life of the ball as well. You can add a little bit going panel to panel if you want. Just touch the mink oil, let the brush do the work. Too much of this stuff takes a long time to dry and you don't want to waste it. Good for the leather though. This is good for boots, good for shoes, good for all kinds of stuff. And of course, you know, given that we all use these balls outside, good for footballs too. So just trying to get a nice even coat on every panel, not too much. Avoid the laces obviously, but even if you don't, it's not the end of the world. A dab there. That logo is gonna look nice, man. Okay, so take your time, brush it in. Don't worry too much with the fingerprints on the ball. They'll go away in time. There you have it, friends. That is a broken in. It's actually like, listen to this. So tacky. NFL Duke. Okay, so let that dry. Then we'll come back and maybe throw another layer of wax on there. We're done. So here we are. Let this sit overnight with the mink oil after the, geez, I got a hair in my mouth. Zero preparation on this channel. I haven't done anything to prepare, including get the hair out of my mouth. Camera also off center. There we go. Okay, pretend you didn't see that part because I ain't editing that out. This has been a night, overnight, with the mink oil and the wax bar and the soft bristle brush. Okay, so a couple things I'll point out to you right away that I see that I really like. Number one, I can tell that the mink oil has really soaked into the ball. How can you tell? Because it looks soft with just a little bit of sheen on it, okay? So this sort of, the look you want is not necessarily shiny, not necessarily dull, but it's somewhere in between. So when the light hits it, you can see a little bit of glare, and when the light's not on it, there's no sort of cloudy look to the ball, which is perfect. That's good. Other thing I like, the tape on the laces really did wonders. I don't usually tape laces because I just think, like, you know, if it's a ball that I was throwing, I wouldn't care. But these ones, like I said, are so hard to get clean, but they turned out great. There's a little bit of dirt on the edges here, but otherwise that looks fantastic. And then also, like I said before, logo really came clean very easily. Not much to that. Seams look good. You guys watch that video, watch me do the seams, and we'll do a little bit of a stick test here. I mean, this has not even really been waxed for a game. It's just been waxed as part of the break-in process. But this is an incredible feeling ball, and I'll tell you, I'm very happy with the way this process continues to evolve, and we build on it little by little. So a couple things we can do now, okay? We can either take a hard bristle brush and brush it a bit, or we can go with a soft bristle, a little bit of wax, and finish it. So I will probably do the latter, since at this point, the dimples are basically done. The dirt is off the ball, you know, as much as it's gonna be. And I think now the only thing left to do with this ball is give it back to the guy who gave it to me. And so I don't wanna give it back any more beat up than I've already beat it up. So let's do the wax one more time. So we got the wax bar here. These are dirty wax bars. Doesn't even really matter, honestly. As long as you're taking your strokes at the edges of the bar, you don't even have to go too hard. Just a little by little like that, because the ball's already quite sticky. This is more for game day tack, not necessarily for preservation or anything like that. And you can do all the panels at once. I know there's a lot of guys on YouTube who give advice to focus on one panel. Gio says to focus on one panel. I would say for 99% of the process, he's 100% right, because you'll make mistakes, you'll leave stuff, you'll miss stuff. But now that you've done the hard part, I would say just tack it up. A little bit of that, a little bit of that. As much on the ball as you want. You can go side to side if you like. I still prefer this method of waxing. The sort of take long strokes from tip to tip. Pause. Can't get through a video without some lewd commentary. Anyway, so this is nice and soft. That's waxy. And then make sure you don't use your mink oil brush, which is this one. Make sure you use your leather wax brush, right? And you're just gonna brush in that wax. And you can do this a few times if you want. You know, it's not my ball, so I'm not gonna do it a few times. And also, I just think that if you want to do it once, you know, you get a nice finish, nice even coat, and people, when you're handing a ball back to somebody, for you guys who are running your own little break-in businesses, it's a nice gesture to hand somebody back something that looks good, feels good, and isn't, you know, overly waxy. Because let's face it, if you try and put too much wax on it, people will say, what's going on with this? Are you trying to hide something here with this feel? This is not how a ball should feel. But one coat plus the softness from the mink oil delivers a really, really strong product, I gotta tell you guys. So I would say that this is the way to do it. One coat and return the ball. So I'm gonna do a little more here. Just brush your lines out, right? You can always see the lines where you waxed. Brush those out. Again, I'm not being overly careful, overly cautious. Like I said before, the hard work is done after all. So I don't remember which panel I did before. Go figure. Again, zero preparedness here. Plus this stupid stand is so annoying to work with, but you need it for parts of the process. So I'm brushing in circles. I recommend you do the same. It helps with the even application. And even these soft hair brushes, the bristles, will warm up the ball, which helps with absorption of the wax, absorption of the mink oil, all that stuff, right? You don't have to use the Wilson brush for that, even though some proponents of the brush will say that it's, you know, it's important because it heats the ball up. This does too. And it's a little less tough on the leather. And for stuff like the wax, you get a much more even application, which is nice. You know, it'd be nice even if you were throwing the ball. It doesn't have to be for someone else. And that, my friends, just about does it. One Wilson Duke, fully prepped. Instructions, materials used, all present in the video. And I encourage you guys to do this for yourselves before you pay someone else to do it. But if you want me to do it for you, all my expertise and Taliban video ball setting here, let me know, man. 45 bucks Canadian. Bring your ball from that new, out of the box, reddish pink, unthrowable feeling to something like this in about 3 days. Simple as, all right? Catch you guys next time.